right, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks. I'm Jim Hobbs, and down on the screen is my carnivore co-host, Brian Damaged Forsythe of the band Kix and Rhino Bucket. And returning with us is a good friend, good brother, just all-around good guy, Mr. Ben Azadi of the Keto Kamp. And let me just tell you, he's the best-selling author of many books, Keto Flex, I believe, The Perfect Health Booklet, intermittent fasting, cheat sheet, that is, and then the power of sleep, which I'm all about that. So he also is the host of one of the top 15 podcasts, the Keto Podcast. I think he's got the fastest growing podcasts in the keto community. I think he's got over 150,000 subscribers. So if you want to reach out to him, you can reach out to him. But we're just honored that he's gracing our stage. Back with us again, Mr. Ben Azadi. So welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Brian. I'm excited to be back. We had a lot of fun a few months ago, and it's time for round two. So I'm ready to rock some keto with both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, one of the things that we get, as a matter of fact, I got a text message right before we hit the record button today. Some people get just like plateau out on, and then they kind of give up and they start going back to those bad habits. And they, then they get kind of depressed and they beat themselves up. And so if you're one of those people out there, just stop it. Everybody has a bad moment. Don't let that moment become your future. Just let it be where it is in the past and move on. But I know, Ben, you got some great advice to give people who plateau out so they don't get, frustrated with being at the same place at the same time, or how intermittent fasting helps you jumpstart where you maybe stop. So I'll shut up and I'll just let you kind of share your wisdom with our audience.
Absolutely. It's a very good question, a good place to start, because this is a very common challenge for a lot of people. There's a book out there by a gentleman named Price Pritchett. It's called U Square. In the book, he says that rockets fail their way to the moon. So they launch, they start, and then the entire time, course correct, and then eventually they land where their goal is, which is the moon. Similar to us, like we launch, we get started with keto, and then course correct. But the challenge is, like you said, people will take one meal of bad eating, so they go off track. That one meal, they dwell over that. So one meal turns into one day turns into 1 week. 1 week turns into 1 month, and then they're like 3 months off track, and they're like, oh my gosh, how do I get back on course? So it's important to understand, number one, success is always like that in all areas. It's never a straight line. It's always up, down, up, down, up, down. So when you do have that challenge, when you go off course, always think about the get back and forget about the setback. Okay. It's the challenge with people is that they focus so much of their energy and attention on what went wrong, the setback, what you feed energy to expand. So if you keep feeding energy to what was going wrong and what you did wrong, you'll keep doing more things that are wrong. But if you focus on, okay, one meal, whatever, I enjoyed myself, I was with friends and family, it happens to the best of us, and you go right back on course the next day and just keep your why in front of you. Like, why did you start this in the first place? When the why is strong, the how becomes easier. So that's the first step. The second step is, okay, let's say you're doing everything right. You've been super consistent. You're 3 months into this whole thing, but your results are not as fast as they were 2 months ago. So what do you do to kind of overcome maybe a weight loss stall, overcome some of the results you were getting that's kind of slowed down? I like to model what great personal trainers and fitness coaches do. What they all have in common, all the great fitness coaches and personal trainers have in common, is this one thing. They always change up the workout routine for their clients. It keeps their client's body guessing and adapting, and it helps to continue to get results, right? Like P90X is a perfect example. It's muscle confusion. Same thing with keto, with carnivore, with intermittent fasting. If you're eating the same 8 keto foods every single day, your body is going to adapt to that. Your gut microbiome is going to adapt to that, and your results will slow down. So change those 8 keto foods to 8 different other keto foods. If you're not practicing intermittent fasting yet, this is a good time to change things up and add in intermittent fasting. If you have been practicing intermittent fasting, but it's the same schedule, 16-8 every single day, it might be time to throw in a 24-hour fast or a 32-hour fast. Or maybe you're doing too much fasting and maybe there's a day where you don't practice fasting. But you get my point here. Mix things up, change things up, force your cells and your mitochondria to adapt. And when you force adaptation, good cells get stronger, bad cells don't adapt. So that would be kind of two suggestions of what you should do if you've hit a plateau or if you're going off track with your routine.
Yeah, that's interesting, because this morning I was thinking and I heard someone speaking about creating, not waiting. So create your solution. Don't wait around for the solution. So that goes right in line with what you were just saying. Go ahead and mix it up a little bit, whether it's your intermittent fasting times or your foods. For me, I tend to be a creature of habit. So once I like something, I'm fine with having that over and over and over and over again. Brian, I know you're kind of the same way because I see your pictures.
I do that. Yeah. I can eat the same thing. Yeah. Every day. If
Me
I like
too. Me too.
it.
So,
but yeah, I mean, I get the analogy with the working out thing because I go through that with my workout stuff too. So, it does apply to all those different areas. I mean, that same principle can apply to pretty much everything.
True. Yeah. It's called hormesis, right? It's that's like the scientific term, hormesis. Perfect example of hormesis. Hormesis is a positive stress that forces your body to adapt, and then your body gets stronger as a result of that positive stress. Some people also call it like eustress, EU stress. But there is something called a hormetic ceiling, right? So everybody has a different hormetic ceiling, meaning you start to apply a stress. So you are applying hormesis. But if you apply too much stress, now your benefits that were increasing now decrease and you hurt yourself, right? So for example, if you haven't worked out in 10 years and you go to the gym tomorrow and you do a little bit of some jogging, you do some planks, you do a light workout, that's a good light stress to your body. You're going to benefit from that. But if you go into that gym not having worked out in 10 years and you do a CrossFit workout, too much stress, now that hormetic ceiling drops and you actually lose the benefit. So everybody has a unique hormetic zone. And we need to find out what that is and keep applying stressors in the right way, recover. And we want to work on increasing that hormetic zone. I think that's where the magic happens for our health.
Yeah, I like to call it making your ceiling of today your floor for tomorrow. So take your
Love that.
Today, make your floor tomorrow. And so, every day when you wake up, what actions are you going to do for you that's purposeful for your life? Like you heard Ben talk about the why. Why did you want to go down the keto or intermittent fasting or the carnivore lifestyle? And keep those in front of you, because the egoic mind, the mind that wants to come to destroy you, is going to tell you, forget about that. Go ahead and have the carrot cake. Go ahead and have the birthday cake. It's your coworker's birthday. Are you really going to just not celebrate their birthday and let everybody think that you're not a team player? And all those lies that come flooding into you. But if you know why, and you know those lies are going to come at you, and you know why you're going to resist those lies, is because you want to be a better version of you tomorrow. And the only way to do that is by living a purposeful life today, and the results will speak for themselves tomorrow. So, there's so many, and I'm sure Ben can attest this and Brian too, but there seems to be a relationship between food and your outlook on life. And so as you start to deal with food in the proper perspective, it helps you to deal with life in proper perspectives. And I think we all can benefit from, as we started out this conversation with, don't beat yourself up because you made a mistake. Just leave it there, forgive yourself, but also don't be the one that's going around pointing fingers at people saying, oh, you shouldn't be having that. That's got too many carbs, or that's seed oil. Listen, everybody's on a different track at a different place in their life, and you have no idea what they're going through in their life or know what they're going through in their mind more importantly, they may look fantastic and fine, but you have no idea what they're dealing with internally. And that's their place. That's their sacred place. So, you have to respect that's where they're at. Just like if anyone's ever tried to kick a habit like smoking, and every time you light up a cigarette, the whole world starts jumping down your throat. Oh, that causes cancer, right? And the only thing it really wants to make you do is smoke in defiance of everybody telling you don't do it.
Yeah.
Brian, did you have that problem? Did anybody try to tell you not to smoke when you were smoking back in the days?
Oh, well.
Or were you one of the people pointing fingers at people?
No, I just well, it's hard to explain for myself, but I knew it was wrong the whole way because I just I don't know if Ben knows my story, but I didn't actually start smoking until I got sober. And so it was almost like a replacement for my addiction. And so I had gotten rid of the drugs and the alcohol, but here I was smoking. So I knew what was going on. I knew that that's what I had done, and it was a struggle to quit. So it was really, I didn't need anyone to tell me. I was telling myself every time I lit one up,
So Ben, would you agree? I mean, like Brian just said, and I think what Brian just said is so much wisdom in that very simple statement, that everybody who's doing something that is bad, they already know internally, because their higher self, their guidance system has already told them what you're doing is not what we need to be doing. So to have anybody outside of self telling you that really doesn't change anything of what you're dealing with internally. So all you can do is come alongside and kind of find out why they're doing something. Like, hey, is everything okay? If you need an ear, I'm right here. You need a hug, I'm right here. Just let them know you're accepting them for where they are at the moment. To me, it's the most loving thing and caring thing you can do to somebody. But I'll let Ben elaborate or give his opinion on that subject.
Yeah, I know. Well said. And I didn't know that about your story, Brian. And it's interesting because addiction, right? Just there's so many things that people are addicted to. And I used to struggle a lot with addiction to not smoking, but addiction to, smoking, but not cigarettes, smoking marijuana, different smoking, but addiction to that, addiction to video games, addiction to carbohydrates and sugar, and bad environment. And once I started to become aware of what I was doing, number one, I did know, to your point, Brian, I did know, and Jim, I did know that what I was doing was bad. But for me, I didn't have any goals, any purpose, any highest values. So I was kind of filling in this void with these bad addictive behaviors because I didn't have anything that was important to me. The most important thing that was important to me back then was like my video game scores, right? So I didn't have any really important goals. So that goes back to the strong why. Once I started to determine what my why was and developed a very strong why, then for me, and I want to hear, Brian, if you could relate, I started to realize I was spending so much energy and so much bandwidth and becoming really good at these addictions. Like I was one of the best video game players in the world. And I started to think, this is kind of a superpower, because if I'm using all of this energy and bandwidth on bad behaviors, and I'm such a, obsessive compulsive over that, what would happen if I took all that energy into things that are actually going to serve me and humanity? So for me, it was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of a superpower, as long as I could direct it to things that are going to serve me and humanity. And that's where I started to become really obsessed with like nutrition and keto and fasting and fitness. And that's why I have this like addictive personality. But for me, it's like a superpower if I channel it to the right area. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Brian. Like, what do you think about that idea of addiction?
Yeah, that does. It makes perfect sense, because that's pretty much, because I'm that way too. I can obsess over something. It can either be something bad like drugs, right, and alcohol, or it could be, like music. Like early on in my life, I obsessed over music, and that's why I became a musician. And then that focus sort of, I got good at it, so I didn't have to think about it as much anymore. And I think then I got diverted into the drugs and the alcohol at that point. So since I've come out of that fog, I had the smoking to deal with. I got rid of that. then I started, I started getting into fitness and health, and it was fitness first before I even discovered nutrition. I mean, I thought I was being healthy the way I ate, but looking back, I didn't know what I was doing. So, with each one of those steps, like wanting to get physically healthy, I gave up the smoking, and then the sugar came into the picture, and it was like I realized this is another addiction. I'm doing this the same behavior, exactly the same. So, I finally, got into the nutrition part of it, and so each phase of my sobriety, I've found a new thing to sort of come into my life, and it allows me to be able to throw the other stuff to the side.
Very cool. Very interesting. I could relate. Yeah. And Jim, to your point about, all right, how do you approach somebody, a friend, a family member who has bad addictions or bad behaviors, and you could help them, but treading lightly is important, to your point, because people don't like to be changed. Okay. People are open to change, yes, but they don't like to be changed, right? So what you were saying about, like, what are you doing eating that cake? It has seed oils. Like, you're forcing them to change. They don't like that. They're going to become resistant and go the opposite direction. So letting them know, like you said, I'm here to support you. And in your story is your inspiration and your example to them. So as you work on yourself and they see your lab levels improving, they see you losing your weight, they see you getting happier and healthier, it's just a matter of time before they ask you, some questions about it, as long as you're not forcing it down their throat. So don't force it down their throat, because it makes them more resistant. Let them know, like Jim said, you're there to support them, and you be the example. And then you're ready when they're ready to reach out to you, you'll be there to share whatever they need. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah. I always feel that's my thing. Always lead by example. Like,
Yep.
just let them ask you about it. Like, when they come to you with curiosity, then they're ready to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your life lived is your best testimony. So we always say, and I don't know if you've ever worked around horses, Ben or Brian, but you don't chase after a horse. You want a horse to come to you, you start going backwards, and the horse will come towards you. So the best thing you can do is not being attacking anybody for how they're living their lifestyle. And that goes for anything. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs. As we all have agreed to, their internal compass is already spoken to them. They already know what they should be doing. They just are not able to stop, or else it wouldn't be an addiction. If it was a choice, it'd be a lot easier, but it's an addiction. It's chemically ingrained that they believe that they need that whatever that is. So that's where they are. And we can all look back at our lives at different points, like Brian was sharing, and even you, Ben. We knew that we should be doing certain things. Like, I knew I shouldn't be drinking 3 big gulps of Mountain Dew every day while I was working to get through my day. I knew that, but I couldn't stop because I didn't know else to get through my day. I know staying up around the clock is not good for my health, because it compromises your immune system. And when I look back on my life, every time I had those weak spots where I was just stupid, to put it bluntly, I got sick. And so I paid the price for those addictions, or for those lack of judgments. So waking up each day, and this is something that probably every one of us needs to do, is start to map out, who does Jim Hobbs want to be? What do I want to accomplish? And what do I need to do in order to accomplish this? My body did not get to be 300 and some pounds in one day. I can't expect to go back to 200 pounds in one day either. So I have to truly look in the mirror and say, okay, what did I do to get here? And now that's in the rearview mirror. What steps am I going to take daily that's going to manifest the Jim that I know that I can be? And I'm going to live that out. And that's what we all need to do, because it's only then we have the resolve, and we know the actions that we're doing and the purpose behind those actions that are taken, so we don't get derailed. So someone goes, "Hey, Brian, come on, man, let's have a beer. Let's celebrate, man. I'm getting married or whatever." Brian goes, "Okay, that's great, man. I'm happy for you, but I don't need to drink a beer to prove that I'm happy for you." He knows that that's not going to be good for him. Just like I know when someone says, "Come on, Jim, it's just one slice of Costco birthday cake. Come on, it's not going to kill you. Don't be a carb snob." No, it's not going to kill me, but it's going to trigger something in me that I don't want triggered, because then I'm going to go from one slice of cake to, "Hey, can I have the other end piece and the other end piece?" And next thing you know, I've had 4 end pieces of Costco cake, and now I'm on a sugar high and I'm on a sugar binge, and I'm going to feel the results negatively the next day and the days after that. It's going to take for me to do some 72-hour fast to purge my body of those toxins that I put myself in. And I don't want to go there. I know that's going to be the result. So if I know what's going to happen to me, why would I ever take that first step of doing something that I already know how it's going to play out, as Brian says?
That's it.
I always say, play the tape all the way through, before you do it.
It's great advice. I totally agree. And it's a matter of setting boundaries. Like you were saying, Jim, I don't need to drink beer with you or eat that cake to celebrate my relationship to you or your success or whatever we're celebrating. It's like communicating those boundaries. And I have found that most people are receptive to that, versus you trying to educate them on, "I'm not eating that because it has seed oils. Do you know that seed oils cost this?" And like going back to what we said, like the horse analogy you gave, you take a step back, let them come to you with that. But if you communicate that you could celebrate them and their whatever you're celebrating without the need of alcohol and carbs and sugar, most people are going to be receptive. But it comes down to having that conversation, communicating and setting the boundaries, which a lot of people feel uncomfortable about. But it's so important. I always say, if you treat your health casually, you're going to end up a casualty, right? So take ownership and responsibility so you can live a long, healthy life. And people are starting to think, what is that person going to think of me? What if I said this? What are they going to think of me if I don't have that beer with them? But here's the truth. What other people think about you is none of your business, okay? Yeah. What you think about you, that's the only thing that should matter. So how do you feel about that decision? Do you feel good about not eating that and drinking that? Great. That's the only thing that matters. Other people's opinions don't matter to you. It only matters to that person.
Well, to go even a step further, it doesn't matter if the whole world, what they think of you, none of what they think is going to impact you physically or spiritually. It's what you think and what you do that's going to impact how you feel and how you walk out your life. So it doesn't matter if everybody's against you or for you. It doesn't even matter. So you have to get comfortable in that place, just like Ben said. And listen, the most important person you can listen to is that inner guidance system that's internally to you and you only, who's telling you what to do. Listen to it. And that goes for when you start to have symptoms with stuff that's going wrong. Your body's telling you, "Hey, look, we got something wrong here. We need to correct it." So don't just sweep that under the carpet either.
See, you're exactly right. That's a huge paradigm shift that I've been educating a lot about. Symptoms are a great thing. Okay. Symptoms are not a bad thing. Now, it doesn't feel good to experience symptoms. I understand that. But wow, what an amazing human body we have, that the innate intelligence could actually show us symptoms, helping us guide us to something is wrong in the body. There's a cause or causes, and it's giving you a clue about that. So when we think about being overweight, when I was obese, I never had a weight problem. Nobody in the history of this world has ever had a weight problem. It's a weight symptom, right? That is the innate intelligence showing you're eating the wrong foods, you're not moving your body, you're not getting quality sleep. It's showing up as symptoms. But we don't chase the symptoms by cutting calories and moving more. We look at the cause. If we're eating processed foods, we eat whole foods, and boom, we start to lose some weight. The symptoms start to go away. That's one example of weight gain. But what about cancer? What about diabetes? What about insulin resistance, autoimmune diseases, heart disease? Those are also symptoms and not even the problem. They are a result of the problem. So when you're driving on your road on a car trip, you're on the road and you're 2 hours into that car trip, and then your check engine light turns on, symptom. What an amazing gift from your car to show you something is wrong. You don't just cover it up and keep driving. That's going to lead to big problems. You pull the car over, open up the hood, and now you have a clue that something is wrong in this engine underneath the hood, and you could fix it. Same thing with symptoms. They are a gift from the innate intelligence showing you that something you're doing is not working with your body. It's working against it. Let's find out what that is. And as you remove the interference, guess what? The symptoms go away. You reverse type 2 diabetes. You reverse insulin resistance, cancer, autoimmune disease. Weight comes off as a side effect of getting to the cause. So symptoms are a blessing. They're not something we should look at as something we hate. It's something we should actually use as a guide.
Yeah, and not ignore. I like the analogy with the car.
Yeah.
Although I am guilty of ignoring that engine.
It's like maybe I could get a couple more days before I take it into the shop, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, I'll confess, I remember we had the red light on Peggy's Mercedes, and so I remember I had to take it in for state inspection because in Virginia you can't have a warning light on your car and pass inspection. So this is honest to God truth here.
I don't think you can anywhere.
I took black electric tape, cut it up, and put it over it, and went there. And of course, the guy goes, "Hey, man, I don't know what you're trying to do here, but when you pull that black electrical tape off, you got to replace your." It was for the airbag on the passenger side, is what it was, EMS or something. So it was. But you know, back to your point, Ben. Now but the reality of it is, it was the sensor that was bad. So you just had to replace the sensor for $1.97, and that light went away. You know, probably not much cheaper than the electrical tape that I was covering up trying to get the state inspection pass. But you know, it's a very good point. You know, don't take what's happening to your body lightly. Let embrace that. Let that know, hey, listen, this is an indicator that I need to change something, and try to find out what that change needs to be. That's why I love people who have gone outside the box, like Brian and you, Ben. And you know, one of the cool things that I'm seeing, and I love to get Ben's take on this, I'm seeing this groundswell of the keto carnivore lifestyle not coming through the medical and doctor's profession. I see it coming from the ground level and going outward. It's people like you and Brian and people who are living out the lifestyle, and people are going, man, how do you do that? And they're asking the questions because the advice they're getting from their physician is to cut out the fat, take the skin off, only limit your amount of eggs intake, and everything that's doing the opposite of how Brian and myself and probably you and others who live a keto carnivore lifestyle live. But people are tired of being tired by following that outdated advice that we all know, for the most part, does not work for the majority of people. Definitely doesn't work for me. And so it's just so cool to see people blowing up, like your Keto Kamp YouTube channel blowing up. It's blowing up because it's filling a need, and people want more information of, man, how can I be like Ben? You know, Dr. Kiltz is another one, and Dr. Joan and Ken Berry and countless of others. I know you've been on TED Talks, and you're hanging out with a lot of people who are in this arena, and it's just really cool to see regular folks who are stepping up and having an impact on people's lives, more so than the people who should be having the impact on their lives. So kudos to you, Ben.
Thank you so much, Jim. And you know, you're so right. We it's an interesting time we live in, because what a role that has switched when we think about doctors and patients. We live in a world right now where, for the most part, the average person who's studying this information, keto, carnivore, etc., they know more about nutrition than their actual doctor. Okay.
Crazy.
So they walk into their appointment and they know more about nutrition then the doctor that's there to serve them. Now, I'm not saying we don't need doctors. They're very important. You know, there's a time and place for allopathic conventional medicine, but when it comes to nutrition and fasting and lifestyle changes, like the person studying this information, listening to Keto Rocks, watching all these YouTube channels and podcasts, they know more than their doctor, right? And that's incredible. And I think it's such a valuable resource that we have available with YouTube and TikTok and podcasts and social media. But I would also say this, we're kind of drowning in information but starving for truth, right?
Yeah.
So make sure the person you are following has a proven track record, make sure the research is solid, and then go give it a shot, like apply it and do your own N of one experience. And it's going to be so unique to you, because maybe I could have some broccoli and I could thrive, but maybe Brian has broccoli and he gets some gut dysbiosis and he needs to eat more meat, right? So a healthy food to me is not a healthy food to Jim or to Brian. It's determined by the health of your gut. So you're going to have to experiment. So find those who are leading the way, experiment, and we have such valuable resources available to us. We live in an amazing time. It really is.
Yeah. And then, and Dr. Barry, he's a big advocate of because he's he's an actual doctor. So, he's always telling people to, encouraging people to educate their doctor, especially on the nutrition thing. And he'll even post he'll post a study, and he'll say, print this out, and when your doctor says this, hand him this. And
Awesome.
have him go read it.
I love it.
Which is cool, because that's the way you get, I don't know if I guess it's possible to change things a little bit at a time, but the poor doctors, like you said, there's a time and a place for a doctor, but they're pretty much, their hands are tied. They're not allowed. They're like I use this analogy too a lot. They're like a DJ on a radio station. They have their program director. They're not allowed to just pick whatever they want to play. They have to play what's on the list, and that's pretty much what has happened with doctors. And between that and the insurance, the way the insurance companies make them, they only have a certain amount of time. They have to have a certain amount of patients. They have to prescribe a certain amount of drugs, all that stuff. It's just like, no wonder they don't have any education on nutrition. They don't have time to even deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's probably easier just to go through the routine like they're, like they're told to do,
Yeah.
And then they're guaranteed to get paid. They're not going to get written up and get in trouble, for given weird advice. Well, weird advice, which is actually could be good advice.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, Ben, you talk about, and there's a reason why people do not need to be telling other people what to do, because as you said, everybody's different. And I know the book that Brian and I went through, this one right here. I don't know if you read this one, but awesome book. And the great.
What's the book? You're frozen. I don't see it.
Can you see it? Can you see it now?
Oh, there you go.
Am I back?
You can't read it, but I can see it.
Oh, okay. It's showing up on my screen for a change, but so anyway. But
anyway, got it. I see it.
Okay.
I see it now. Yeah, I have that book.
Oh yeah, great. So the point being is, as you talked about, so like Brian, for example, is just like my wife. She can't handle, like asparagus and broccoli. And those are two of her favorites, but it just means that her body's not in that place to be able to handle those yet. If whatever's causing the reaction gets healed, then maybe in the future, they can be incorporated back into their lifestyle or their diet. And that's why it's so important, just because someone has read something, whether I've read something, like you said, oh, Brian, you can't be eating that. That's got seed oil on it, blah, 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 blah. You can't be, sure you can have asparagus. It's good for you. asparagus does this for you. And Brian, like, yeah, but every time I eat it, I get sick. So, those are definitely indicators that our bodies individually personalize and say, look, we're not ready for this yet. Doesn't mean your body's never going to be ready, but we have to hear what our body is telling us. It's why it's so important to take a log. It's also, Dr. Joan gave us some great advice. Like, document what you're eating on a daily basis, and so you can isolate what those are. Like eat eggs on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then asparagus on Tuesdays, and so you can see what days, or if you have inflammation the next day, I'm sore on Wednesdays, but I'm not on Fridays. You can start to isolate what food groups are causing the inflammation in your body, so you can start eliminating them. And then later on in life, once in a while, try to incorporate them back in if that's something that you really love, like Brussels sprouts or asparagus. But it's the reason why we should be looking at our own self internally, and not pointing fingers externally because someone's not doing something we just read in a book. And as you said, it's very important for you to, hey, you can listen to everything that's being said out there, but it doesn't mean it's truth. You're going to have to find out if it's truth for you, and if it's not working for you, you need to go dig a little bit deeper and find out why that is. For the most part, we are lucky to live in 2022, where we do have internet and Google and YouTube and these abilities to go out there and plug in something and put keto lifestyle and get boom a lot of links and websites to go check out. It also allows us to go check out the studies that's been bought, but like the sugar industry, and why eggs and meat were put on the do not eat list by big pharma and by the medical profession, because those studies were paid for by the people who wanted you to become a sugar addict. And something I want to share with you both now. I think we were talking a little bit about it before we hit the record button, but I've been saying for the last few months here, there's been a shortage of heavy whipping cream on the store shelves here in the DMV area. And for the longest time, I just didn't understand why. I've asked about it. Other people have confirmed it's been the same in their areas. I think before we hit the record button, Ben, you were sharing with me that you also at your local farm where you get raw whipping cream, they didn't have any.
Yeah, they've been out the last couple of months. Yeah, it's interesting.
So, Brian, I actually had met with a person at a BNI meeting last week. Her family were dairy farmers up in Wisconsin, and with the whole pandemic thing hit and it shut down the country and shut down public school systems, the government came in to the medium and small dairy farmers and told them to dump the milk. And they were paying them to dump the milk because they didn't want a surplus of milk, since schools wasn't going to be able to purchase it and distribute it through the kids, that it would drive the price down. So they had to dump the milk. And there's actually a process for dumping the milk. Well, now these farmers are, because I guess it's toxic, it can become toxic if you dump it in the wrong places. And so, long story short, these farmers decided they just could keep living like this. So they sold off their cattle, their dairy cows, and now they're not producing any milk. So now you have basically a shortage of dairy, because they've gotten rid of all the dairy farms from mid-size to small size, and thus in my theory, a reason why now we have a shortage of dairy products, one of them being heavy whipping cream. So it just goes to show you that it's important for you to be living your own life. If you can make relationships with your local small farmer, or buy shares in a cow that allows you to have your own milk. There's just so many things, or grow, if you can, have your own cows on your property. So anyway, I say that because we have to take accountability for us. And it doesn't matter what Jim Hobbs thinks. It only matters what Jim Hobbs does. And so I got to find a way to get myself some milk shares here in Virginia, which I'm planning on doing, so I can have my own source of heavy whipping cream. Not that I'm using that much lately, but just so I have it.
Well said. Responsibility. That's what it is. That's what you said. I love that, Jim.
The more we share, that's the thing I love. I love people who are willing to share, like Brian's willing to share, Ben, you're willing to share. And, the more we get a chance to first, but I wouldn't be able to share if I didn't overcome what I had to overcome. If I wasn't a doer, I had nothing to share but hot air. Because, I could read every book I have, but if I'm not applying it to my life and living that out, then I'm nothing more than a hypocrite. So it's important, I love the fact that I'm actually held accountable by my word. So by me speaking this and talking about it on this forum and this platform, holds me accountable. I don't want anyone to be posting a picture. Jim's at the all-you-can-eat buffet having pancakes and sugar and bananas and pineapples, and they're posting that on Facebook. Look, hey, look at Keto Rocks. Look at him. Look at him rocking 350 pounds. So it's very important.
That would be funny. That would be super funny.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely would be. But the reality of it is, again, though, it's only hurting me. So if I say I'm doing one thing and not doing it, it's hurting me double because my word's not true and the life I'm living is not true. So it's hurting me doubly. And so, but it holds me accountable by realizing that when I meet every week with Brian and every day I get up, I have that big why of why I'm doing things, which is to keep moving forward and not go backwards. So, all right, it's that time of the evening where we check in with Mr. Brian Schenker of the Meat Tribe YouTube channel for those meat deals of the week. So, Brian, in August, what do we have this week?
It's looking pretty sad this week. Not a lot of deals, but there's a couple here and there that I think are going to make some people happy. None that I would really say is a really good hot pick of the week, but we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Food Lion's got a few deals running through the 30th of August. They've got some top round London broils for $3.99 a pound. They do have some choice grade boneless ribeye steaks for $9.99 a pound, which of course we like to see a little bit lower than that, but still not too bad at $9.99 a pound. And then they've got some choice grade stew cubes for $5.49 a pound. And then Harris Teeter. Some people are going to be happy, but I felt really let down this week. They have their whole tenderloins on sale, which I don't typically purchase that because it's not a fatty cut of meat. And it's usually more expensive, but they have through the 30th, their rancher grade whole tenderloin for $11.99 per pound. And then the choice grade for $12.99 per pound. Now they are also selling their filet mignons, but those were upwards of $15.99 per pound. So, I just quickly mentioned that because that's not something I'm going to run out and purchase. So, Kroger, they only had one deal that they're advertising running through the 30th. They have some choice grade chuck roasts, buy one, get one free. And then Giant Eagle, they've got a couple of deals running through the 31st. It doesn't touch Kroger's deal that they had on their brisket the last couple of times, but they've got some certified Angus beef briskets for $4.99 per pound, and then some prime grade briskets for $5.99 per pound. So that's it.
Wow. Well, I heard I heard there's a tongue sale in Tennessee. Anyway, well, thanks so much, Brian, for at least chiming in and give us what is out there. It is what it is. So we appreciate that, and we will see you next Friday, same time, same place.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody.
All right.
See you, Brian. That's it, brother.
Yeah. So if people want to reach out to you, Ben, name some of the ways they can find you on ways they can get to you and have you as their camp counselor.
I like that. My website has everything. benazadi.com is my website. So it has, my books, my podcast, social media. There's some articles there. There's a contact form too. So that would be the best place. And then, we have our Keto Kamp podcast. If you want to listen to that podcast, and our YouTube channel, Camp is spelled with a K, but benazadi.com would be the best place because all of that's on one site.
Awesome. Well, listen, we're not going to keep you all day. We just appreciate you being able to share a part of your day with us. We're truly honored and grateful that you're able to do so. We'd love to have you back at another time. And, we'll give you an invite to you. We are getting a group of us gathered together for a meetup in October 2nd, I believe, up in Hagerstown. It is October 2nd, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. In Hagerstown at the Maryland Institute of Music for a chili cook-off, a keto chili cook-off, and a keto meetup. And we got Dr. Kiltz flying in and gonna be there with us. So you're welcome if you can. I don't know if we can get Dr. Kiltz to come down to Miami and pick you up, and we'll just round up all the keto carnivore people. But if you can, you want to join the meetup, you're welcome. We'd love to have you, but didn't want you to be uninvited. So you're welcome to join.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. I'm actually gonna be at in Kentucky that weekend for a keto event. So but next time you do one, give me a heads up as soon as possible. And I appreciate the invite. I love what you guys are doing. I always have fun with you, Jim and Brian. We had a round 1 a few months ago. This is round 2. So yeah, I'd love to do a round 3 and a round 4. I think it's very important to keep educating, and I appreciate you having me again and allowing me to serve your community. I love what you guys are up to.
Well, we love what you're doing. And Brian, you have any last minute questions for Ben?
No, I think that's about it for today.
All right. Well, Ben, thank you for your time, and keep doing the great work you're doing. And we'll look forward to seeing you for round 3 and 4 and more.
I look forward to it. You guys keep up the good work. Thank you so much for having me again.
All right. Good seeing you.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye. Wow. I love having Ben on the show. Wow. So look, if you guys get a chance to check out Ben Azadi's, please go to his channel, go to his website, benazadi.com. I'll put it up here in the links. Also, we'll put it in the show notes. But always just a pleasure to have him on here with Brian and I. So anyway, well, Brian, you had a busy week this last week. Kix was playing, I think, in Ohio. Then you were flying to Florida to get to Nashville, to get to Gatlinburg, to get to Monsters on the Mountain. So how did logistically did the trip go, and how did the concert and the end product turn out?
Oh, well, it was a success, overall, but yeah, it was a lot of hoops to jump through to get it done. Yeah, like I was telling you off camera, I had to fly to Cincinnati and then drive an hour to where the gig. It was closer to Dayton, and Cincinnati was the closest international airport that Southwest flies to. So I had to there was no direct flight from Nashville to Cincinnati. So I had to go to Chicago and then back and then drive an hour. It was crazy. And then on the way home, my flight went to Orlando first and then back to Nashville. And God, there was all kinds of stuff going on that we were delayed an hour, and then they backed it up. Like it was the time that kept changing, and then it finally ended up being only maybe 10 minutes past when we were supposed to. No, it wasn't actually. We started boarding the plane, and it was 10 minutes later than when we were supposed to have departed originally. So we get on the plane, but then we sat there for, I don't know how long. It was really long. And I think, I'm trying to remember what happened with that one. I think was that the one with the weight issue? Like it was overweight or something. So they had to, the plane was like packed. And then they get on there, and there were 2 of the Southwest crew people that were riding along. They had to get off the plane and take their,
They had to bump the flight attendants that were riding for free.
Yeah, the ones that were just riding in between, they were going home or wherever.
Right.
Yeah, I guess they were on standby. So it was the standby people they kicked back off. And there was another couple regular people that they had to get off and take their stuff. And then it turned out that they had to dump some of the fuel as well. So it was like this, it took forever. And we finally got out of there, and so I didn't get, I left the hotel up in Ohio at, what time did I leave? I left like 9:45, I think, in the morning. I got back to Nashville. It was after 10 p.m. at night.
Oh, wow. Over 12 hours. Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So then, So Shannon met me at the airport, and I didn't want to take her car, so we rented a car and then drove to Gatlinburg, and that's another 3.5 hour drive. So by the time we got to Gatlinburg, it was after 3 a.m. It was like crazy. But
Wow.
so the Monsters in the Mountain, it was actually, Gatlinburg is a cool place. The last time they had it in Pigeon Forge, this was Gatlinburg. And it seemed like more in the mountains. It was really cool. A cool, nice little town. And it was at the convention center. So it was a huge venue and really good turnout. Man, there was a lot of people there. So in the end, we had fun, and I got to eat brisket after I got done playing.
Yeah, we were talking about that. So you posted a picture of post show of Monsters on the Mountain, and so it looked like really good brisket. So you just order a pound of brisket by itself?
Yeah, that's what I do. But it came and it did have a biscuit sitting on it, so I just took the biscuit off and put it in the biscuit basket because they had a whole basket of them sitting there. So I just added mine to it.
So they recycle biscuits, huh? Okay. Well, I'm glad you had a great show. Glad you're back in Tennessee. Where are you guys playing this week, or where's your next?
Penns Peak.
Ah, okay, that's in Maryland, right?
So no, it's in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Jim Thorpe, PA.
That's where it is. Okay, so that's
so when this airs, I'll be up there on Friday.
Okay. Well, hopefully people are there watching you play while they're listening to this, and rooting on their favorite carnivore guitar player up on stage. But listen, it's been a great show. We appreciate you guys for supporting this show and staying with us and watching us, and for the number of people we're having actually join us. I mean, we love our guests that are able to come on and share what's happening in their lives. So we ask you to go support them as well. And we got a great guest coming on next week. That's a friend of Shannon. Shannon booked us our guest this next week. So excited to hear her story.
Oh yeah, her coworker.
Yeah. So we get a chance to hear her story, and then we got some other people. We got a lot of great feedback from Carl from Corrupt last week, and man, it's exciting that we're having so many people with success in living out that keto, carnivore, intermittent fasting lifestyle. So listen, if you have a story to share, man, message us. Put your information in the chat. We'll reach out to you. We'd love to have you on. The more people who share this journey, the more people will be encouraged to take that first step to check out this lifestyle. And one of the first things you can do to check out this lifestyle is just what bit of advice Brian gives me and everybody else. So Brian, if people made it this far along, what bit of advice would you give someone?
I would say eat your meat.
And I would second that. And we'll see you next Friday at the same time, same place. But in the interim, stay safe, stay well, and stay out of the hospital. And we'll see you next Friday, everybody.
See ya.
Have a great show, Brian.